Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zolotech, and we have a lot to talk about with the upcoming iPhone 15. We're expecting iOS 17 public beta too soon, and much more. This is your weekly Apple news update for July 31st, 2023. Now, Apple has acknowledged a bug with screen time where settings can actually reset. This is even on the latest iOS 16.6 that was released to the public last week, and it apparently is causing some issues. Recently, they acknowledged this to the Wall Street Journal, saying that they're actually aware of it and that they're working on it. So this is something that they'll hopefully improve very soon, whether that's with iOS 16.6.1, iOS 16.7, or maybe even they'll wait till iOS 17. But either way, hopefully they'll fix that screen time bug very, very soon. Now, if you're using Apple Maps, Apple has been updating it greatly in different cities around the world with more detailed maps and more. In Dallas and Houston, they recently updated it, so there's a greater experience. If we go into it, and if we zoom into the NRG Stadium, you can see there's details on it. So if I tilt, it's got a lot of details on it. It even has information on the building with writing and more. So they've greatly updated this. However, they haven't said that publicly they've updated Dallas and Houston, but they're starting to roll this out now. You can see the full list, and I'll link this in the description, but you'll see detailed city experience and where they're currently available around the world, such as Washington, D.C., Vancouver, Canada, Toronto, London, Las Vegas, and more. Hopefully it will roll out in more cities very, very soon. Now, Apple this past week launched a couple new hash flags on Twitter, or now I guess we'll just call it X, the Everything app. And as you can see, Apple Pay with a little check mark after it and Pay the Apple Way are the hash flags. And then Apple released a campaign that says Pay the Apple Way. Apple Pay is built into iPhone so you can check out in seconds. No need to reach for your wallet. And so that's something they released this past week. I'm not sure how long it will be live as far as the hash flags, but they still seem to be there if you search for them. Now, if you're using T-Mobile in the USA like I am, and you're using the standalone version, you can have up to 3.3 gigabit per second speeds depending on where you live. So if you go into your settings and then you enable 5G standalone, if you're on T-Mobile, you could have incredible speed. So let's go ahead and check this, as I've got a couple bars with 5G UC. And after running speed tests, you'll see I had 181 megabits per second down, 18.3 megabits per second up. I'm in the middle of a building with 2 bars, and it's a brick building. So it's actually not bad given where I'm at. So hopefully this increases where you live and we'll see incredible speeds. If I see 3.3 gigabits per second, maybe I'll share it online as well. Now, if you're using PhotoStream or have been for years, Apple has finally shut that down last Wednesday, where you'd want to store your photos there. It was something that's been around for many years and a bit confusing if you went into settings. And your only option you'll see is iCloud Photos, as Apple has shut down My PhotoStream. So you may need additional storage or to use a third-party app if you want to actually store photos online. Now, Apple is working with TSMC to build a new factory and chips in Arizona in the USA. That's who makes all of the chips inside the iPhone and Macs, and with multiple factories being manufactured in the United States, such as Samsung and others, it seems TSMC may actually have to wait to get the right people to finish it. So it could be a while before we see chips manufactured outside the initial plant or the original plant. But either way, it looks like Apple's diversifying more and more around the world. Now, before we talk about deals and iOS updates and more, I wanted to share from today's sponsor, Casecoo. This is the Casecoo Magic Stand case. It comes in clear, space black, and there are new clear purple and clear black cases too. It's a protective case that adds grip and looks great, and it also has raised bezels around the screen and camera, but also has a hidden stand built in. The stand allows for a 40 to 120 degree angle and has a magnet in the ring of the stand that supports MagSafe accessories and charging. I'll leave a link in the description with a discount code if you'd like to try them out, and thanks again to Casecoo for sponsoring this video. I really like these Magic Stand cases as well, so let me know what you think of them in the comments below. Now, on August 3rd, Apple will have its third quarter earnings call. If you're a shareholder or you just want to listen in to see how Apple's doing on their investor page, you can go over to their website, and I'll link it in the description, where they'll have their Q3 2023 Apple financial results. It's on August 3rd at 2 p.m. Pacific time or 5 p.m. Eastern time. They're usually about a half hour long, and then you can just listen in. So if you want to do that, that will be available in a few days. The latest MacBook Air 15-inch, which I personally really like a lot, is apparently not selling very well compared to Apple's original expectations, according to DigiTimes. They state that the MacBook Air 15 is selling 50% less than expected, which I don't know that it's that surprising, as Apple's MacBook lineup is quite good right now, with the M2 Pros, the M2 Max, the 14-inch, the 16-inch. I'm not sure that you need this 15-inch MacBook Air, but this is actually one of my favorite devices Apple has ever made, and I've been thinking about doing a review about it because I've been using it an awful lot. Let me know if you'd like to see that in the comments below. Now, as far as weekly deals, there's a few things worth mentioning. Apple's AirPods Pro 2 are on sale for about $200 on Amazon, sold directly from Apple. Also, there's deals regarding the iPad Air 5th generation, as well as some deals on AirTags and Macs and more. So I'll link those in the description if you'd like to check them out. Let me know if you'd like to see more weekly deals as well. iOS 17 Public Beta 2 has been oddly absent. In fact, we could see it as soon as today or maybe within a day or so. It's odd that we haven't had it already. Typically, it's a day after Apple releases the latest beta. So iOS 17 Beta 4 released last week, and we haven't seen Public Beta 2, which would be the same thing. So maybe Apple found some issues with it, but we could see maybe a Beta 4 re-release or just another public beta very soon, as Apple may release that separately. Also, I would expect iOS 17 Beta 5 next week at this point. Up until this point, usually up to Beta 5, we have bi-weekly releases. Then after that, we'll have weekly releases up until the final version, which is typically in mid-September. So that's what we're expecting. Also, with Apple acknowledging that issue with screen time, we could see iOS 16.6.1, but I'm not aware of it being tested anywhere, so that could be a couple weeks as well. But you never know with Apple, and they could release iOS 16.6.1 or even iOS 16.7 within days if they feel it's ready. When it comes to rumors and leaks this week, we have a lot to talk about with iPhone 15. The iPhone 15 Pro models are expected to get a price increase this year, according to an analyst at Barclays named Tim Long. This is based on supply chain information. And here I have just models of the iPhone 15 Pro Max and 15 Plus that give us a general understanding of the overall dimension and feel of what the devices will offer. Now, the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus are expected to launch at the exact same price they have now of $799 and $899 to start. However, the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max are expected to get at least a $100 price increase at $1,099 or $1,299 this year. However, some have suggested that the Pro model could increase by $200 to start. Now, this new chassis is expected to be made out of titanium and have a USB-C port. That could be the reason for the price increase, as titanium is more expensive to actually machine and manufacture. So that could be some of the reasoning for that, and these changes have been confirmed by many sources such as Mark Gurman, Ming-Chi Kuo, and Shrimp Apple Pro on Twitter. This could definitely be part of the reason for what's to be expected as a price increase. Now, iPhone 15 Pro models this year are expected to have thinner bezels around the display. This apparently was causing some technical difficulties early on, according to Wayne Ma from The Information and some other sources such as Bloomberg and Ross Young. However, Ross Young has said that the technical issues have been overcome and resolved, and production is ramping up. Now, some have thought that the iPhone 15 Pro models could be delayed to October due to some technical difficulties that I mentioned already, and this is according to Bank of America analyst Wamsi Mohan. But Ross Young, again, has had a very accurate track record and believes they could be on time and not delayed at all this year. We've been hearing about these issues every single year with short supply, and so at this point, other than 2020 or 2021 where we actually did have a delay, I really wouldn't expect one this year. But you just never know, as Apple sometimes has difficulties and it takes longer to get things ramped up. In Mark Gurman's Weekend Power On newsletter from Bloomberg, he said that the iPhone 15 chassis redesign will be making the iPhone much easier to repair this time around. Now, you may be able to remove the back glass similar to the iPhone 4 models and also the front glass. This would make battery replacements and self-repairs much easier than before. Also, the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus are said to be getting an upgrade to a 48 megapixel sensor, but it would be a smaller sensor overall than the 14 Pro models have. This would limit the amount of light they can collect, but would still be more than what we currently have on the 14 models. According to the same post on Weibo, the 15 Pro and Pro Max are expected to include the same 48 megapixel sensor as last year as the 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max models. However, there's a rumor that the lens will be a new glass and plastic hybrid with an f1.7 aperture to allow for more light onto the same sensors. This is according to RGS Clouds on X or Twitter or whatever we're calling it now. Also, the new A17 CPU in the iPhone 15 Pro devices are expected to finally bring Wi-Fi 6E to the iPhone. And we also expect the action button. Now, the action button would replace the silent switch, and we've seen recent code updates thanks to my friend Steve Mosier on Twitter. You'd be able to program this button with different actions such as the flashlight and more, just like you can with the action button on the Apple Watch Ultra. So those things look pretty promising, and this may be a pretty big upgrade this year for the iPhone 15 models. Of course, we're expecting larger batteries. I've talked about that before, so this could be a significant year for iPhone 15. Developers recently had the opportunity to sign up to get the developer units of Apple Vision Pro, but with very strict terms in place. This will keep developers from showing anyone, and Apple says to keep it in the included Pelican case when not in use. They also will be tracked using AirTags and have customers sizing for the user. Apple is actually having workshops this week for developers in certain locations in the world to help developers make apps and understand Apple Vision Pro a little bit better. Also, Apple released a new beta version of Vision OS last week to support Apple Vision Pro developer units. So there's developers these should be shipping to already, and they should get their hands on this and be able to develop apps. But based on those terms, I doubt we'll see any early unboxings, but you just never know. Now, when it comes to Apple Watch Ultra 2 is going to be lighter this year, according to a post on Weibo. Mark Gurman also said they're testing a darker version of titanium. So instead of this lighter titanium version, we could have a darker version, maybe a space black version again, with Apple Watch Ultra. Also, Apple Watch SE 3 is said to be next year, not this year, according to Mark Gurman again. It would be in 2024 as an every couple year cycle. So if you're looking for an Apple Watch SE, maybe the SE 2, it seems like it may be a good time to get one still, as it may be next year for the next one. Now, when it comes to Mac, we're expecting M3 Macs probably later this year. The supply chain is actually ramping up, working on the M3 processors and getting parts ready for the new MacBooks later this year, according to DigiTimes. So maybe we'll see an iMac with an M3 later this year finally, or something we're not expecting entirely. Or we could just see a small spec bump on what we have already. Now, when it comes to iPad, though, Apple is apparently working on getting the iPad bezel to be much thinner this time around. So they would reduce this using new technology called LiPo technology, which stands for low injection pressure over molding, and it was first used on Apple Watch. We could see that in 2024, and Apple is apparently considering a folding iPad according to DigiTimes and what they've heard from the supply chains. Now, we've seen various patents on folding devices, but according to people such as Ross Young, they've seen no news of this whatsoever. So we may never get a folding iPad, but Apple's always working on different things. And so that's it for this week's news. Of course, we're looking forward to iOS 17 Public Beta 2 and maybe even a re-release or iOS 17 Beta 5 sooner than we think. Let me know what you're looking most forward to in the comments below, and of course I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.